Welcome to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network, presented by Whelen Engineering, brought to you by Hercules Tire. I'm Hannah Newhouse, joined each and every week by my co-host of Kyle Rickey. This week, a little bit different though, not in the Concord, North Carolina studio, out on the road currently in the moment in Duluth, Minnesota. Kyle, of course, you're back up in Killingly, Connecticut, but it's been a weekend full of short track racing across the country, including the ARCA Menard Series, who I feel like has been on big racetracks this entire year. Finally made their way back to the short track of Elko Speedway, where it ended up not being a literal, but a fist fight with the drivers' cars being Corey Heim and Ty Gibbs.
Yeah, a little bump and run there with 14 laps to go in the event. It looked like Ty Gibbs was going to be well on his way to another win, led 263 laps of that event, but not the last 14. Corey Heim was able to move him out of the way to claim the race win, his fourth of the season. Jesse Love, Gracie Trotter rounded out the top three. Ty Gibbs ended up in position number 4 over Tanner Gray. Still the Corey and Ty show this year. The only 2 winners in the first 9 races of the season, and that's why they are running for the championship pretty much by themselves. Just 7 points between them. Corey Heim, the championship leader, by 7 over Ty Gibbs. Then a large gap back to everybody else, including Thad Moffitt in third, heading to Berlin Speedway this Saturday night.
Yeah, and Corey Heim voiced his displeasure on Twitter with Ty Gibbs, of course, leading to that bump and run later in the year. So we've kind of been watching it. Like you said, these two have been dominant in that series, battling for this championship, but they're not going to make it easy. This is becoming a rivalry. It's more than just competition between the two of them. These two have now voiced their displeasure with each other. And I think we're going to continue to see this fallout throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, it feels like we've been on a lot of big tracks for the ARCA Menard Series the last few weeks. Well, there's a lot of short tracks coming up, including a couple of dirt races later in the season. So plenty of opportunity for these two to find each other on the racetrack, much like they did the other night at Elko. And it's all going to continue on this Saturday night at Berlin Speedway, another short track on the ARCA calendar. So I can't wait. It's going to be fun to watch. I think a rivalry that we really didn't expect to happen earlier this season, but after some contact at some of the bigger racetracks back in the spring, we're seeing it carry over here into the summer months. And I think you're right. It's far from finished.
And we talked about it last week. If you did join us here on NASCAR Coast to Coast, of course, Slinger Nationals was last Tuesday when we were recording. One of the big key mark super late model races in the country, held at Slinger Speedway up in Wisconsin. And it was a pretty stacked field for that race. It drew the likes of a lot of our old Cup racers, current Cup racers, including that of Eric Jones. Derek Kraus, of course, Wisconsin native, was one of those drivers that made the start. But a new name found his way into victory lane, breaking the record, becoming the youngest winner of Slinger Nationals ever, 17 years old, Luke Fenhaus. And even better than winning, okay? It's one thing to win Slinger Nationals, but this kid got a bonus. He punched a ticket to then race the SRX race on Saturday and did a phenomenal job in that race as well. This kid has got to be flying high right now.
Yeah, no doubt. The biggest week of this driver's, young life. I mean, he's only 17, but was able to hold off Derek Kraus, past Derek Kraus in the late stages of the race last week at the Slinger Nationals, held off the likes of Ty Majeski, some of the best Midwest short track racers in the country, to claim the win. And then 72 hours later, jump in an SRX car and compete with the likes of Elio Castroneves, Paul Tracy, Tony Stewart, who is his childhood hero, who he was able to ultimately stand on the podium with, Marco Andretti, Ernie Francis Jr., Haley Deegan, the list goes on and on. Willie T. Ribbs in the race as well. A fun race on Saturday night, and I think there were a lot of folks at Slinger Speedway pulling for Luke to do what Doug Coby did back to start the SRX season, and that's claim the win as the kind of the hometown hero. But he fell just short, but put on a great show.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to talking to Luke. We're going to get Luke dialed up on our guest line here after the break. But just to talk to him, we did talk to Doug Coby, like he said, about his win. But Doug Coby's been around, I feel like, for quite some time. To have a young driver, 17 years old, get this opportunity to go race with, Paul Tracy and, like you said, Elio and Tony Stewart. I'm looking forward to just the week he's had. It's an incredible week that he's had to get that opportunity. And I can't imagine, Kyle, at 24 years old, the opportunity to race with these guys. This 17-year-old kid is racing with legends.
I mean, Doug Coby's what, 40,
Yeah.
41 years old, and he couldn't believe that he had the opportunity to go to his home racetrack, Stafford Motor Speedway, and compete against the likes of Stewart, Andretti, Tracy, Tony Kanaan, the list, Elliott, Labonte, the list was endless. And, he was so grateful for the opportunity, and obviously it showed when, in his victory celebrations and in his interview that we did with him a couple of days following the win. So I expect the same type of emotion with Luke, who is, young, yes, but still very appreciative of the opportunity and very well aware of that amazing opportunity that he had on Saturday night.
Well, I'm looking forward to talking to him. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll dial up Luke Fenhaus and talk about not only that Slinger win, but of course the SRX race after the break.
Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights. Whelen also produces white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on-site to meet the toughest industry certifications. Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, trusted to perform since 1952.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there no matter where the road takes you. Go to HerculesTires.com. There you can find the nearest authorized Hercules retail location to you. Plus, you can use the tire tracker to find out which Hercules tire fits your vehicle the best. That's HerculesTires.com. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network. We talked about Slinger Nationals and the event that it was, of course, leading to the SRX race, and the winner joins us now, Luke Fenhaus, of course, 17 years old, the youngest Slinger Nationals winner. First off, Luke, thanks for taking some time out of your week here to join us.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure being on here. It's been a busy week, but I'm really enjoying it.
Now, I want you to take me through that last couple laps before you cross the checkered flag, becoming the youngest winner in Slinger history. I mean, what were the emotions like? Take me through that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I was really just trying to hit my marks. Once Kraus got by me, I kind of settled into a rhythm and just tried to hit my marks and run them back down. And then once I passed them, I kind of really just hit my marks. And once I crossed the checker flag, obviously I was super relieved, but I'm super thankful for what I have in my life and how far it's gotten me.
Talking, of course, of the Slinger Nationals and some of the best in the business that have won this event: Alan Kulwicki, Dick Trickle, Mark Martin, Rich Bickle, Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, Bubba Pollard, Ty Majeski, just to name a few. This race dating back to 1980. So what's it mean to you to add your name to that incredible list?
It's pretty cool. I mean, we've been strong this year. We've just struggled a little bit, and we've had our up and downs and our bad luck. But it's cool to add our name to that list for sure. It's awesome to lead into the SRX deal, and that was super cool. So it's been a really awesome week for me.
And that being said, also Kyle mentioned, of course, Alan Kulwicki's name as one of those lists. You've been part of the Kulwicki development program. Of course, I saw Tom Roberts there as a victory lane picture. What does it mean to be able to add your name to that list, of course, being part of that Kulwicki development program? And what has that program done for you?
Yeah, the Kulwicki program has helped me in so many different ways. I'm so thankful to be in their program and to represent Alan in every way possible. So we've been doing a lot of stuff for Alan, community service wise and on track performance wise. So hopefully we can keep it rolling. We've been to a good start so far. So hopefully we can keep it rolling for Alan.
Well, you mentioned the Alan Kulwicki development driver program. A lot of Midwest late model drivers, particularly from his home state of Wisconsin, competing for the Kulwicki Cup and the $50,000 that goes with it. Alan, unfortunately, passed away in 1993 after winning the 92 Cup Series title. How much do you know about Alan? Have you been able to research him and his career, not only in the Cup Series, but also at a lot of those Wisconsin and Midwest short tracks?
Yeah, it's hard because, he's before my time for sure. But I try to do as much research as possible. It's hard, just because I wasn't in that lifetime and not to see him, in person, but watching all the videos, he was a unique guy to say the least, and I'm so glad to represent him.
And when you crossed the checkered flag, of course, not only did you become the youngest winner, but you also got a little bit of a bonus. You punched your ticket to the SRX race, which was on Saturday. Such a cool moment. I got to see a lot of the behind the scenes on SRX social media. What was that moment like, knowing that you were going to get to compete against some of the most, legendary folks that we have in racing? And how was that experience for you?
It was a really special moment for sure for me, just because to race against those guys, they're the best in the business, and there's so many legends that I race against. So it was cool. It was cool for my team and my family to all be there and support me. So, hopefully this leads us in the right direction in the next step in racing. I'm super thankful that Ray gave us this opportunity. And like I said, hopefully it leads us into the right direction.
What was maybe the pre-race chatter like? Did any guys or girls, Haley Deegan in the race, come to you looking for advice on the racetrack? And did you go to anybody looking to get some advice about those particular race cars? Because they're far different from, what we normally see.
Yeah, no, I talked a lot to Tony, to Bill, to Haley a little bit, Bobby Labonte, so I kind of got my, I went around and talked to everyone and just kind of said hello and nice to meet you. And so it was really cool to talk to those guys and, shake their hand and get to know some of their stories. And I tried learning as much as I could about the SRX car, because it's completely different than what we race up here. So it was cool and super neat to have that experience.
And you kind of touched on it. That was actually going to be my next question. We did talk to Doug Kobe a couple weeks ago when he won that season opener, but of course he comes from the world of modified racing. I was going to ask you how that translated. I mean, how you felt that the SRX car compared to your super late model.
Yeah, I talked to Doug like 2 days before the race, just to because I was super nervous. I couldn't handle it. So I asked him, for some advice, and he gave me really well advice, super long paragraphs, which I really appreciated. So thanks to Doug. But yeah, I mean, they're different than the super late model for sure, just because, in the super late model, you run bump stops and completely different geometry in the front end. So, it was on a different tire, different motor. And so they're different for sure. I was trying to, kind of get the same feel out of it, on the racetrack. But other than that, they're close in a way.
How surreal was it, and it still might be, that you're at your home track racing in Andretti for the win in Marco and holding off Tony, who's a car length behind you, a driver that I think you said is one of your heroes growing up, in Tony Stewart? Yeah,
no, it was a special moment for sure. Just to line up next to those guys, I really couldn't believe it. I'm only 17 years old and I'm racing against these guys. So it was a special moment for me. I enjoyed all of it. It was tough to soak it all in. I've been so busy this week, but now I'm kind of realizing it all, and it's cool to be a part of their program and run that race.
Well, you definitely turned a lot of heads on the world of social media. I saw it even amongst our NASCAR friends. You definitely got a lot of recognition over the last week or so, the win and, of course, the second place run. What does the rest of 2021 look like for you?
We'll be racing a lot at Slinger. It's hard to tell if we're going to go down south and race. We want to, just finance wise, it's tough. We gotta, pick our races wisely. For sure, finance wise is tough this year and every year for sponsorships. So we plan to make it to Snowball Derby. Otherwise, we plan on racing the full Slinger weekly deal. And maybe some ARCA Midwest Tour stuff, or the Live for 5 at the Dells. Other than that, we're going to try to make the most out of our super late model program and hopefully to leads into something next year.
Do you have a 3 to 5 year plan? Where do you hope to be? I know sponsorship dictates everything that you guys do in this sport, but you said go down south. Snowball Derby is a possibility this year. Down the road, what's kind of the hopes and dreams?
I would say NASCAR 100%. We'll see how far it goes. Right now it's kind of my high of my career right now. So, I'm kind of just trying to live it out and, keep turning heads, and we're trying to get some sponsorship things together. So maybe we can, get in a truck or get in an ARCA deal, and kind of make my way up there. But for the most part, I'm super thankful for where I'm at right now. And hopefully it leads into something next year or in 2 years.
Well, you're definitely on the right path again with the win and the good runs. Keep it up. We're looking forward to watching you, of course, the Slinger. And if you do manage to make it down south, it's been fun to follow your career, and best of luck the rest of the year.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Again, guys, that was Luke Fenhaus, of course, the winner for Slinger Nationals over the last week. And of course, the second place run at the SRX races, Slinger Nationals. Long future in this sport ahead of him for that 17-year-old driver. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, though, we'll have your Whelen Engineering Modified Driver Spotlight.
Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights. Whelen also produces white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on-site to meet the toughest industry certifications. Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, trusted to perform since 1952.
Sir, are you aware you were going 40 miles an hour? This is a residential area.
Sure, but I'm on my lawnmower? Wait, am I getting a ticket?
No, I've just never seen anyone top 9 miles an hour on one of those bad boys. And mow their entire lawn in 30 seconds? What got into you?
Well, I did fuel up at Sunoco this morning.
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Get back to NASCAR roots by driving headfirst into the new home of grassroots racing. Flow Racing keeps the original NASCAR tradition of dirt track racing roaring with more than 1,300 live and on-demand oval events from across the U.S. Learn how the next generation of NASCAR drivers is prospected in sprint car racing. Subscribe today by going to flowracing.com/GoMRN. That's FLOracing.com/GoMRN.
Time now for another Whelen Engineering Modified Driver Spotlight. Able to catch up with, for a second week in a row, another driver from Monadnock Speedway up in New Hampshire. Kim Rivet joins us. Kim, first off, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, of course, anytime.
Kim, a Chicopee, Massachusetts native, grew up there and has been running at the Monadnock Speedway for, I feel like, forever. I feel like we had you first on NASCAR Coast to Coast, well, almost 10 years ago when you were running for a mini stock championship that you ultimately won. Let's go back to the beginning. But even before that, what got you into motorsports? Because I know it's kind of in your family bloodline.
Yeah, so we started racing dirt karts and sprint cars and stuff back at Whip City Speedway in Westfield, Mass. So before that, I used to go and watch Barry Gray at Riverside, who was a big pro stock driver. So my dad was a spotter for him, and we just got into it when I was like 4 years old, just racing around an abandoned road course track, and then ended up at Whip City Speedway racing dirt for, I think, like close to 10 years. And then we moved up to mini stocks at Monadnock, and then we got a ride in a modified at Monadnock, and we've been there since.
So bring me back to that moment that you thought, I want to be a driver and I want to do this long term.
I don't think I ever had a choice. It was just in my blood. Okay. Yeah, when I was younger, I mean, we would have, we had this little Indy go-kart, and we go to this abandoned go-kart track that a guy that owned it would let us just go there with Adam Gray and Barry, and we would just putt around there, and I would not get off the track to let my brother get in. My dad had to like basically force me off the track all the time because I wouldn't get off the track. So I knew I liked it from a really young age.
And you have found success all the way through. Let's go back 9 years almost now, almost 10 years to that mini stock championship. How big was that, for you being, fairly young at the time? You're still young, but, you're fairly new to Monadnock at the time, and being able to not only win a championship, but to do it against two other ladies, top three for the ladies that year at Monadnock. I don't think that it had ever been done before. in a NASCAR Whelen series.
No, so that was definitely very cool that it had never happened before, and it was with two of my really good friends, who I'm still good friends with. So yeah, it seems like forever ago now. But yeah, back in 2012, we had a dominant year. We won a ton of races. It was a couple of seasons into being at Monadnock and figuring out the difference between, a sprint car and on dirt and then a mini stock. So a little different. But we figured it out, and my dad worked really hard, and we ended up getting the championship that year. And then we raced in the mini stocks one more year, and then we were offered the ride in the modified by the Rivera racing team.
And so you've been in the modified now for quite some time. You talked about the transition from dirt to asphalt, sprint car to a mini stock. How is that transition from a mini stock to what I guess was a sportsman modified? I know they have a new name now, but still the same class there at Monadnock Speedway.
Honestly, it was a big change. But my dad did the right thing of putting me in a rear-wheel drive mini stock to begin with. So it wasn't as big of a transition as it could have been going from like a front-wheel drive to a rear-wheel drive car. But the competition alone is just, those cars, between the competition and having some really veteran drivers with a lot of talent, and then having cars that are a lot harder to set up, and they're so finicky compared to a mini stock where you can go out there and you can just kind of overdrive what's wrong with it. Where these, if they're wrong, they're just, it's a bad night.
And let's not talk about the bad nights, but let's talk about the good nights. You picked up your first win 3 years ago, back in 2018. How big of a night was that for you?
That was huge. I mean, that was my goal going into that division, because no woman at Monadnock had ever won in that division. So that was like my ultimate goal, to get that done. And unfortunately, we haven't been there since. We've had some close calls. We were running first one time and blew a motor with like 2 laps to go in an extra distance race. So we've had some bad luck over the years. We got a different car this season, and we're trying to learn it. We went from a Spafco to a Troyer. So we're slowly trying to learn that and get used to how different things are with that, because it's a big learning curve. And as you might know, like, the guys don't want to tell you all their secrets. You know what I mean? They'll give you a hint here and there, but they're never going to tell you all their secrets. So now we just got the valve springs redone in the motor, because the motor's old. So we'll see if that helps us. And if not, then we got to get a new motor for next season.
You mentioned you're the first female winner in the modified at Monadnock. How tough is it being one of only a few ladies in the pit area there at Monadnock Speedway?
I mean, it doesn't bother me. I just treat everybody the same. Sometimes I don't get the same treatment as I give.
That's where I was going with that.
Yeah, I mean, some guys, there's for sure this difference in the way they drive you. They'll talk to you perfectly fine outside the track, and then once they're in the car, you can tell they hate being passed by a woman, which drives me nuts, because I'm like, who cares? It's a car. Yeah. But at the same time, it's kind of one of those things where when you do pass them, it's like, yeah, well, cool,
right.
Just look at the back of my pink car and know who's in front of you. But unfortunately, I'm the only woman racing in this division this season. So the guys have been tough to each other, not just me. They've been really tough to each other. So I haven't felt that way too much this season. But even though I just, brush it off my shoulder and keep going.
Let's talk about this season for a moment. Big 100-lapper coming up this week as we tape this, coming off of a rainout, which I know a lot of folks were okay with, to put a lot of the cars back together after a rough first half of the season. How's your 2021 been going, as you are currently top 5 in the championship standings?
So we've had some top 5s, but we haven't had a podium finish yet. We've been close, but some of these guys like Todd Patnode and Brian Roby and, TJ Blue's back racing with us again. They're just so perfect when it comes to getting the setup that they're almost impossible to beat. And we're not there yet with the car. We're getting closer. We're finding things wrong. So we're fixing things, but we haven't had that perfect, setup yet. So hopefully soon we'll get to that point. But we're just hoping we can make it through the 100-lapper because, I mean, so far we haven't made it through. There's some races that we haven't made it through a lap and half the field wrecked. So we're just hoping to get through. We've been lucky enough to stay 5th in points because we haven't had a DNF. And these guys, some of them, the bigger, competitors have had the DNFs. So I think that's been helping us a ton, and just being consistent with, pretty much, top 5, top 10s when we have a big field. So overall, not a bad season. Haven't, knock on wood, wrecked the car hardly at all, just some bent wheels and stuff, stayed out of the huge wrecks. So not many people in our division can say that right now. So that's been good.
No doubt, a good thing indeed. Let's talk about off the racetrack. When you're not at the racetrack, at the race shop, what's the work week look for you Monday to Friday?
So I am a dental assistant and I work Monday through Thursday, usually longer hours because we have Fridays off, which usually I end up either at Claremont or dirt biking or at another racetrack somewhere. Like I never stay home. I don't know how to sit still. So usually it's dirt biking, going to watch my husband do some flat track racing, or he does some hard enduro racing on dirt bikes. He hasn't been racing cars this season because he's too busy with dirt bikes. But other than that, staying home with my dogs, hanging out every once in a while, staying home.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You mentioned pink, the pink car. Ever since I've known you, every time I've seen you, you're wearing pink. Why pink? Have you always been attracted to pink?
I used to hate pink.
Really?
Like
I would have never guessed that.
I was such a tomboy. Like, wore whatever my brother had that he didn't fit him anymore. Wouldn't wear a dress. I was such a tomboy. And then I think, honestly, I don't know when I started liking pink. It was sometime in like high school. It took me a long time. But I think it had a lot to do with racing and standing out and being like, I am a girl and so what? And when I pass you, I want you to realize that it is a girl passing you. And if it bothers you, too bad. So I don't know. And then I just became, in love with pink. And now that's what it is.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. You're in pink right now.
Kimmy, thanks for joining us here on NASCAR Coast to Coast, and best of luck to you the rest of this 2021 season up there at Monadnock Speedway, including this weekend's 100-lapper for you guys.
Thank you so much, Kyle. It was good seeing you.
Good seeing you as well. Hopefully we'll talk to you soon, maybe after that second career modified win.
There you go. That would be nice.
Kim Rivet joining us here on our Whelen Engineering Modified Spotlight here on NASCAR Coast to Coast.
Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights. Whelen also produces white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on-site to meet the toughest industry certifications. Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, trusted to perform since 1952.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there no matter where the road takes you. Go to HerculesTires.com. There you can find the nearest authorized Hercules retail location to you. Plus, you can use the tire tracker to find out which Hercules tire fits your vehicle the best. That's HerculesTires.com. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
We've talked about just some of the racing action that took place over the weekend at short tracks across the country, many of them able to finally get some racing in after weather plagued quite a few of them over the last week or so. One of those, of course, was Oxford Plains Speedway up in Maine, of course, prepping for the Oxford 250 a little bit later in the year with the past series. They had the Oxford 150 with Mike Hopkins over Derek Glunchacki and Nick Sweet. Wall Stadium also had modifieds with Andrew Krause, Jimmy Blewett, and Eddie McCarthy. Dillon Speedway down in South Carolina hosted their late model series. Justin Hicks took the win on that. BJ Mackey and Robert Powell rounded out your top three, Kyle.
Hey, the Granite State Pro Stocks were in action at the Hudson Speedway up in New Hampshire. Joey Pohl claimed the win over Casey Call and Gabe Brown. Finally, it dried out at the Monadnock Speedway, also up in New Hampshire. Todd Patno picked up the race win over Tyler Leary. We saw earlier this week's Whelen Engineering Modified Spotlight. Kim Rivet finished in the 8th position in the 16-car field. Bowman Gray Stadium back in action. Hard to believe they're already well over halfway in their 2021 campaign. Tim Brown claimed the win in the modifieds, and it was Zach Clifton and Zach Orr splitting the twin sportsman features. Note, Tim Brown and Burt Myers are tied in the championship standings heading into racing this coming Saturday night. Just 6 races left before their season is over, which will conclude on August 14th. And at Hickory Motor Speedway, Sam Butler held off Ryan Millington and Thomas Bean in the late model stock cars. And just another note here in Connecticut, all short track racing for the second week in a row canceled at the 3 Connecticut short tracks because of Mother Nature. I guess this week it was Elsa that made her way through southern New England.
Well, I'm in Minnesota right now for the World of Outlaw series, late models. And of course, we were over in Minnesota throughout the weekend. I would have thought Elsa was here in Minnesota. It rained and rained and rained. And then it started to do the vortex. We somehow managed to get 2 full days of racing in Jackson, Minnesota. We're up by Superior now. I'm going to go racing on Wednesday, of course, as this episode comes out, up in Superior, Wisconsin. Almost 2 full weeks of racing for me, but it's been super enjoyable. And the weather, it is a Monday morning as we record this, but the weather has decided to become beautiful for us for the rest of the week. That being said, going into the weekend, it's a relatively lax weekend for a lot of NASCAR's regional touring and international touring races, but the modifieds are finally finding their way back to New Hampshire.
May have to take a trip up to Loudon, New Hampshire, to the Magic Mile this Saturday for the Whelen 100 at Great Field. Expected very tight championship standings. We've only had 1 repeat winner so far this season. Patrick Emmerling, the championship leader by 3 over Justin Bonsignor. Tommy Catalano, 3rd, 36 points back. That repeat winner, Doug Coby, 4th in points. And of course, he missed a race because of his SRX commitment at Stafford 4 weeks ago. So he's 4th, 41 points back, tied with Woody Pitkat. So going to be a great to see the modifieds back on the New Hampshire Motor Speedway this Saturday afternoon. And like earlier, we talked about the ARCA Menards series. They're also back in action this Saturday night at Jeff Striegel's track at the Berlin Raceway in Michigan.
Lots of action. You can catch all of that on NASCAR.com, also NBC Track Pass. And if you get the opportunity, of course, go out, support your local short track, support your local drivers. Hopefully weather plays into these racetracks because it has been a tough last couple of weeks. We want to thank Luke Fenhaus for coming on and talking about Slinger. We're going to have a ton more to talk about next week here on NASCAR Coast to Coast. I'm Hannah Newhouse for Kyle, Rickey, and producers Craig Moore and Ryan Horn. We'll see you guys next week.